in her book, The Middle Matters, this idea of assessing where you're at, what's working, what's not working, and maybe you're being mature enough to say we got to make some changes on the things that aren't working. Yeah, we've all seen train wrecks where people are having kind of a midlife. Gene is clearly a teenager. I thought he could give us some, insights on midlife.
In the
Yeah,
middle year.
I'm surprised I even thought of this. It's so good to have you here too.
Well, it's always a pleasure.
It's so much fun. Lisa Joe, let's ask that question. What is the definition of the midlife, the middle years? Who are we?
I'm guessing it depends on who you ask, right? So I think it could be by age, but it could just be by stage. I've had women that are in their late 20s tell me, I feel like I'm in my midlife right now just because I have kids that are so much older that are going into high school or college. And then there are moms who started later in life, and so they might be in their 40s by the time their kids are heading into high school or graduating high school. So I mean, I do think it's one of those things, your internal barometer. A pair of jeans I bought once upon a time in Prague. And my husband and right, that tells you right there. They're not really midlife jeans. But my husband and I had taken a trip, a lost trip, just the two of us before we had kids, and we'd gone to Prague, and there was this beautiful little store. I got this pair of jeans, and I looked at them, and I felt like the jeans were looking back at me and telling me, "There's not a chance." And I thought about those jeans, and I thought about trying to fit into them, and instead I reached for a pair of comfy sweatpants or a different size jeans. And I realized in that moment, though, I wasn't sad. I didn't miss that version of myself. I had a new kind of contentment with the stage I was in now. And I think about this body that grew these three humans that live in my home now and how it has changed over the years. And I realized I wouldn't go back. I wouldn't trade what I have now for those prom jeans. And maybe, listen, maybe one day I'm going to wear those jeans again. I'm not saying I'm never.
You're betting on it.
But at the same time, there's just a sense of peace with this age and stage I am now. You know, those jeans represent me before I had kids, before I knew what it was like to deal with difficult teenagers, before I'd been married 20 years. So I love those jeans. They tell a love story, but my sweatpants tell a whole different kind of love story.
Gene, are you relating to this?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Every pair of pants I own right now don't have a real zipper. They're just stretchy. Right?
Practical, not real great. Somebody came up with a great idea. Man, forget that. And Lisa Joe, you struggled with the idea of feeling beautiful as a woman since you were a teenager. Some people are probably hearing an accent. You're from South Africa. So you speak to that struggle and so many women who have that similar struggle.
Sure, because there's all these messages bombarding us from culture about what beauty means, what beauty looks like. There's this one standard of beauty. And I have a daughter, and so after two sons and having a daughter, it suddenly became really important to me to figure out like what do I do about this whole beauty conversation. And I wonder if in childhood, a lot of us, I'd be interested if you've had an experience like this. But when we're little, when we're teens or teens, we can be shaped by the things people say to us. And I remember being 16, driving in the car with my mom, and it was the season of Miss South Africa, you know? And I remember telling her, "Mom, one day I am going to be Miss South Africa." And she looked over at me with this tenderness and the love of a heart. I now, as a mom of a daughter, I remember a moment where when she was a toddler, she was talking about her little tummy. You know how toddlers have like a little chubby belly? And she was really worried and concerned about it. And I took her outside, and we have these giant oak trees in our yard. And they're hundreds of years old, but they start with a tiny, chubby little acorn, right? And I showed her the acorn, and I said, "This is what your belly is like. Everything God knows that you need to grow is packed into you, and He is going to stretch it out and grow you into one of these big trees. And none of these trees, I promise you," leans over and whispers to another tree, "Do these pants make me look XYZ? Like, what do you think of this bark? Like, am I okay?" No, these trees are mighty and beautiful, and they give us shade, and they've lived hundreds of years, and they tell long stories about weathering storms. And so now when I think about beauty, I define it differently. I mean, sure, there are parts of us looking in the mirror that we want to feel comfortable and beautiful, but strength, kindness, joy, courage, faithfulness, all of these are elements of beauty that are packed into that little acorn.
That's a great analogy. Yeah, no, that's really good. What a great way to explain it to a young person, especially. Gene, what about that? I know that the the teen years. That can be tough on girls, especially girls. You grew up in Southern California. I mean, it was all about looking perfect, right?
Absolutely. Yes, everything was messages, even those of us who didn't grow up with social media, that yes, you know who are the prettiest girls at school, and when I was growing up, thin lips were popular.
Isn't it funny the things that change over
Yes.
the years?
And I had the same size of lips when I was 6 years old, so they were big at the time. And I can remember standing in the milk line in elementary school, and a girl in front of me didn't know I was behind her and said, "Oh, yeah, Jean and Linda have huge lips." And my sixth grade picture, I smiled. I got my lips really tiny, but those things, they do stick. They stick.
Well, I'm glad you have lips the way you do. I love
Thank
your
you.
lips.
Thank you.
Let me ask you too. You had this exchange, and again, a lot of this goes to body image, which has captivated so many young people, so many young girls. That's why we're spending a few moments on it here. But you had that experience with your dad, and you were going to see him, and you hadn't seen him in a while. It was his 70th birthday, I think.
Right.
And it seemed like in the book you mentioned your first thoughts were about your weight, and he's
Well, and how sad is it that having not seen him in so long, that's what I would be worried about? It's so
no, I mean,
ridiculous.
I think it's common.
Yeah, and I had, part of it is my dad's a doctor. He's very health conscious. He, takes fitness and exercise seriously. And I felt like I'm just going to prepare him. We're just a little fluffier around the edges. We are carrying some of our stress in our genes. So I called him and I just was like, kind of trying to ease into mentioning that we're coming home a little heavier than we wish we were. And it was the most beautiful reaction. It really was sort of the antidote to how my mom had responded with my beauty pageant question. He said to me in his beautiful South African British accent, "Oh, my darling, no, just come home. The more of you, the better. We can't wait to hug you and kiss you. And with this time you're here, we really intend to put a few more pounds on because we've got all your favorite food planned." I hope people listening are not hearing me talk about this is not a conversation about healthy eating or exercise per se. It's really about healthy viewing of ourselves. And when you're viewed through the lens of love like that, which is really how God sees us too, I think, and you feel so lovable, it changes how you look at yourself in the mirror. So when I look at the pictures from that trip home, I just see joy, I see delight, I see family. That's beautiful.
It is, and it's a great way to see yourself. Okay, we've kind of looked at the self-image of how we view ourselves and those things that hurt, whether it's about your lips or your weight or whatever it might be. I remember a guy in high school, I was a ninth grader, he was probably 11. Lisa Joe, another issue that you mentioned in the book, and this is a little corner here, but it's about marriage. And we read articles where midlife can take a toll on.
I think is sort of a segue between body image and midlife of marriage because it was the teenager quote of the week. And this is what the quote was: "My life will never be complete until someone has run through an airport to stop me getting on a plane." Right? Which is this trope from all the rom coms.
Right.
Yeah. You could never do today anyway because they say we never allow that.
Or get tackled by the police.
But I understand it, right? It ties into all these ideas we have about how we're supposed to look or how we're supposed to be loved. And I remember reading that and thinking, no, just period, full stop, no. That cannot be the end of the story because the problem is with movies is after that moment, the credits roll, right? And you go back to your real life where real love, you forget, actually lives. Because after the guy ran through the airport, they have to live 20 years together or 30, 40, 50 years. And 50 years of him throwing his socks on the side of the bed every night. Like, where's that love story? And so I remembered writing and thinking about this idea about love in the middle. Like, that's the real love. Like, the love stories that are the beginnings, they're fleeting. They're gone in like a heartbeat. But then you've got 50 years. Where are the love stories in the trenches? And so for me, it has really been having eyes to see what love looks like there. I mean, the love story is my husband who chooses to drive the minivan in the heat of summer with the broken air conditioning for me, or the guy who says, oh, "Don't worry, I'll go out at 8:30 and do the late night run and the pickups," or the guy who comes home not with roses but with like chocolate covered strawberries or, that kind of rice or bread that you like. It changes. But for me, it has been constantly the shifting of how we see, because I think there's this emphasis, carpe diem, seize the day. But what if you're too tired to do that? And what if, though, it's about a shift in seeing the day? It's how you see the day. So it isn't about that dash through the airport. Instead, it's the long love story of 40 years in the middle.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. See the day.
Concentrate on that, Gene.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you, though, I mean, we're the couple here, so.